In this video, I'll cover character creation and some recommended modifications to settings for us console players. These are alterations that I make at the start of each tune and on every playthrough. Starting with the character creator, as you can see, there are a number of choices before you. Each class comes equipped with 3 unique skill lines, allowing you to play in your own way. The alliance selection truly only matters in regards to which faction you will fight for in the centralized PvP zone of Cyrodiil, but that's for later. As for the race, choose what's right for you. There are some meta choices, like the Dark Elves for DPS, or the Nords for tanking, but they're not exactly set in stone. Anything can work, so pick what takes your fancy and run with it. I'll likely say this over and over again, but take your time. Especially with the character creator, there are a multitude of options to make each tune unique and your own. Of course, you can alter or change some of those things later, but at a cost. Now on to the settings. So once you're in the options and the settings menu, you're going to see a video. Go ahead and go in there and you're going to see the display features. A lot of these are going to rely solely on your monitor or your screen's resolution. It could also be dependent on whatever hardware you're operating off of. I am on console, and so some of these will differ from people who are on PC. As for instance, graphics, you have fidelity and performance. A lot of the time, I see myself prioritizing the frame rate over the resolution, so I'm playing under performance. So that way I don't lag out of some of my content. Just the brightness adjustments, that's going to be about the same thing, and then screen size, adjusting that to fit your monitor or fit what you're comfortable looking at on your screen. Next, of course, you have your audio, which is going to be your subtitles and your master volumes, all of those selections. This is something that is to preference, to taste, doesn't really have any impact on gameplay all that much. So it is solely what you decide you want to do here and how you decide to go about that. The Gameplay tab will reflect onto some of your interactions and even more of the visuals in ESO. The do's and don'ts of controller vibration aren't really applied to this game, and due to certain mechanics, I would suggest leaving it on. Foot inverse kinematics on because levitating several inches above the ground just doesn't look right. Skipping these, combat cues. On, of course, so that we can block, bash, interrupt, and dodge. Custom colors. Green for friendlies, that's okay. Red for enemies, not so much. See, a lot of environments in ESO are surrounded by lava, or the baddies' fire spells will affect this, rendering it at times nearly impossible to see. The solution? Pick a color somewhere between pink and purple. Adjust the brightness and take it for a spin with the test enemy function. Now you can see what to avoid. Prevent attacking innocents, something for in-town use and an option depending on your outlook of justice. Quick cast ground abilities. Change this to on to fix parses and only to have to hit buttons once to cast those abilities. More companion stuff. Consolidate area loot on so that you don't have to sort through each body. And auto. This will depend on you and your personal inventory management. The rest here is preferential. So, camera. FOV sliders are located in this section. Third person is my go-to and the way that I play the game. So after a few tweaks to these sliders in specific, that's all that really matters here and all that's going to have my attention. Interface, an entirely preferential section, but let me give an honorable mention to the automatic quest tracking feature. On or off, it's your call really. It'll depend on the player or situation to determine its usefulness to you. I'll just make a few more tweaks and then we'll move on to the nameplate section. Depending on the player, you may or may not want some of these on. I personally opt in. Titles, tabards. It's cool to see some people's achievements, or what guilds they're in. Scrolling down, we see friendly NPC is set to always. You'll need to cycle this at least once if you want it to work. For some reason, it just doesn't, and that's why it takes this action. It comes in handy in towns. You'll just have to trust me on this one. Make sure health bars and damage indicators are on, and then feel free to peruse the rest. For social, I prefer to take text size down a notch to reduce how much of my screen it commandeers. Profanity filters. I won't tell you how to live your life. Looking down, leaderboard notifications. What your guildmates did is cool, but do you want all those notifications? Auto decline duels and auto decline tributes. That's up to you. Guild colors. It's a neat way to organize or separate conversations, as you can be in up to 5 player guilds in total. Combat. Strap in, and just trust me here. Ability bar always show. Timers, front and back row, on. The attribute bars always show. Resource numbers. Set that to number and percent, and ultimate numbers, turn that on. By doing this, you'll always be able to tell where your stats and abilities sit without having to be in combat. Now, combat text on, and moving on to buffs and debuffs. I just turn all to always show, and it's good enough for me, as it'll show you your mundus, your food, or any curses you may have. Well, that'll wrap things up for me. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.